Welcome to Voni's Kitchen. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a broth soup. I'm getting all my ingredients collected here. I use a little bit of tahini paste. I'm using a broth base that is free of gluten. I'm using a little ground ginger. I've got a couple of spices, a Mrs. Dash salt-free garlic and herb, and you can also use a basil garlic and herb from McCormick Spices. I'm going to probably add just a little bit of plain garlic granulated. I'm going to be using some mushrooms. The mushrooms I've sliced up to be very, very tiny so that they will cook well in the soup and just add a tiny bit of flavor. And then I have noodles that I add about 1/4 cup. You can see they're vermicelli noodles. They're little teensy-weensy noodles. And when I pour them out, you'll see how small they are. And then I do add just a little bit of extra basil to my soup. So I'm going to start by using 6 cups of water in my pot. This is a dinner for 5 people, but from experience, I know that these 5 people eat up a lot of the soup, so we're making 6 cups instead of 5. A normal serving of soup is usually 1/2 cup of soup. However, if I know I've got that many people coming, the soup does tend to cook down a little bit as it goes. I'm doing a little bit more because I know how much they like this soup. Okay, and with this, it's supposed to put in about 1 teaspoon a cup. I put in about 2 heaping teaspoons, and that should be enough flavor. Okay. Then the next thing I'm going to do is turn on a burner to get it heated up here, and it's just going to be simmering on low. I don't really do any measuring of the other things. This is Mrs. Dash, and I'm just going to sprinkle in a few sprinkles. This is my McCormick, and this one isn't even open, so I use a lot of this stuff and go through quite a bit as I cook because I want it to be mostly salt-free cooking. So there was salt in the broth that I just put in. This broth base does have sodium in it. It has 2 level teaspoons is a serving size, and that has 950 milligrams of sodium. So we are doing quite a few servings with that. And what I'm putting in here from the McCormick seasoning is salt-free, and the Mrs. Dash is salt-free as well, so you don't want sodium added. I'm just going to add a tiny bit of garlic. This is pure garlic powder, so there's not sodium in that either. Ginger seems to help pop flavors of any vegetable, so I'm going to add a little bit of ginger to it. Again, I didn't measure, I just shake in a little bit. I know not to add too much or too little, so just a couple shakes. Then the tahini paste gives it kind of a smoother flavor. And if you look inside the jar, it looks kind of strange. And tahini paste is nothing more than sesame seeds ground up. And so I take about this much for my 6 cups, not very much. And I'll stir it up here. It doesn't really like to come off the spoon too much until the broth gets a little bit warmer. So I'll take another spoon and just help it get into the water. And as it warms up, it will dissolve itself. And then I take my sliced mushrooms, and I've sliced them very, very thin because my family likes eating the soups at Benihana's. And that's what they do, is they put a little bit of thinly sliced mushroom. The other thing that I do is I have just a tiny bit of green onions that I've chopped up. I'll get them for you. This is a bunch of baby green onions here, and I've already chopped them. I have a little baggie of bits of onion. And I'm going to toss in quite a bit of it. I'm going to save a little bit out of it. That might be too oniony tasting for us. And then the last thing I put in are the noodles. And I've got too many, I usually just pull out a little handful of noodles and put them in. So if we were to measure them, I think it will end up being about 1/4 to 1/2 a cup of noodles. But that's enough right there for 6 people. And then I just put that on simmer and let it cook. I do add a tiny bit of basil. I have basil in a bag here. You can see inside. I'm going to put a little bit on my hand. It's dried basil. And if you do basil in your garden, you can use fresh basil as well. And those are all the ingredients for the soup. When you study volumetrics talks about starting every meal with a broth-based soup because there's very few calories in the soup, but it does give your body a sense of feeling full, or a sense of fullness signal to your brain as you eat it. And everybody seems to really enjoy it. Again, with this soup, you can add all kinds of things. If you wanted to have carrots instead of the mushrooms or onions, you could. If you wanted to have absolutely no vegetables, you could. If you wanted to try a few other vegetables, you can do that. You could put broccoli, you could put just carrots, whatever you like, but that's just the basis for the soup. And there you go, you can see it. And again, be sure you serve it in a pretty bowl so it will make people want to eat it. Thank you.